and welcome to Service Intelligence Point of Sale Training. In this training, we're going to focus on the front counter and how to introduce managed auto care to our customer base. My name is George Antico. I am an ex-shop owner of Santa Monica Auto Center. And a brief background, we had a busy shop, about 400 or 500 cars a month, and it was hectic. We had 10,000 customers and over 1 million line items in our database of deep history. We had 18 years worth of service history, which was very difficult to access. So what we're going to talk about is how shops have this blind spot as a result of not necessarily absence of information, but actually having too much information. Meaning that, they say, what's the fastest way to hide a book? Well, just dump 1 million books on top of that book and now you hit it really well. Similarly, service information becomes notoriously difficult to track, meaning that when a customer returns and the customer, for example, had been at our shop 12, 15 times, the management system had all the information that we needed. So we could go and access the history by looking at the service records, and then we could flip through and either search for a specific service, for example, coolant, and then the shop management system would show us, 4 times ago, we did a coolant flush. But it was just a historical record. It didn't take the next step, which is really critical. Does this vehicle need the coolant flush again? To get that information, what we needed to do was look at the old odometer reading and the date, look at today's odometer and date, and do the math. How many months have elapsed or how many miles have elapsed in order to determine whether the vehicle needed the service again. Then, of course, we would need to do that with tires, with an oil change, with transmission flush, and there is some 30-plus recurring maintenance items that shops need to track. As a small business, by definition, is understaffed, meaning that that's the only way to be profitable and everybody's got plenty to do. We don't have time to do this kind of analysis of the history before a vehicle comes in. So typically what we do, or what we were doing, was we would give the vehicle to the technician and we would ask the technician, which happens also to be on flat rate and they weren't being paid for inspections, to do the inspection for us. We would give them, at that time we had a paper inspection, and even a tablet is basically the same, which is a blank inspection sheet. And now the process of going through all of the inspection items is now dependent on the tech that gets the inspection form, with varying degrees of accuracy, and then the service writer goes up to the vehicle owner and says, hey, we just did the 29-point inspection. We're a AAA approved shop, and the body language from the vehicle owner starts changing. Now they start crossing their arms and they say, oh boy, here we go again. And basically the vehicle owner is feeling like you just went on a fishing expedition and now you're going to do arm twisting and try to sell me something. Sometimes, most of the time, it couldn't be further from the truth that yes, we are trying to be thorough, and yes, we are in a for-profit business, but the vehicle inspection is vital, and yet it loses its importance because of the perception that there's no space between my customer's wallet and my desire to make a profit. So with that, let's get started, and I just wanted to point out that our shop changed dramatically, and what we implemented was managed automotive care, where when the customers come in, the starting point, for example, if Shirley and Steve come in, or any one of my customers, Now I can click on the vehicle and the system will provide me with a very detailed report. And in 33 times since 2005, it's driven 11 miles a day, and the system is even predicting that today this vehicle probably has 94,065 56 miles. That is based on the odometer from the last visit. So let's just click around here and let me go to this vehicle that has deeper history. So this also has been coming in 33 visits, but since 2011. Now this vehicle is driven a lot more, 27 miles per day, and it probably has 185,705 miles. So I would say to Shirley or Steve, hey, give me 1 second. I'm going to get the odometer off your vehicle. I bet you it's got these many miles. And what I'm trying to do is draw the customer in to the understanding that our systems are getting really smart. So I come back and I say, I was 12 miles off or whatever. And the idea is to explain to the customer that we're using predictive analytics. This is similar to what maybe Google Maps is doing on your Android phone or the iPhone, where if there is an accident on the route to your appointment, it will tell you, here is an alternate route, there is an accident in the way, and you can save 15 minutes if you get off on the next exit. That sort of technology is everywhere, and there's going to be more and more of this type of technology, and so it just makes sense that the automotive shop also has smarter systems, and we want our customers to know that we are implementing managed automotive care, which is actually looking at the previous services performed, and I'm going to click on the detailed report here, to help us figure out what is needed and what is not. As you can see, the things in the blue are not needed, and this, for example, this belt is not needed for another 23,000 miles, and it's important for us to show our customer that before we give the vehicle to the technician, we already know that none of these things are required. So this report is presented to the vehicle owner at the point of vehicle drop-off, and then again at the end of the day, because assuming that this customer takes care of these 4 things, at the end of the day, when I build them out of my management system, or a Ryder, or Mitchell One, or MaxTrax, whatever it is that you're using, you want to synchronize it, because now Service Intelligence will find these new 4 items in a new work order that's now finished, and it becomes an invoice, a closed invoice. These 4 services will now be added to the blue. And this is a before and after picture that we can very clearly show the customer. Well, take a look at your battery. This battery is good for 5 years. Now you're not going to need a battery until 2022, or whatever the case may be. So there's a third report that we provide. So I'm going to do a right click on the vehicle itself and pick Progress Report, which is the same information except that it's in a graphical format, which is also responsive to cell phones. So this is an important way of communicating if your customer is calling you on the phone. Well, look for them on by name, license plate, and phone number, and then go to their report and send them the report by clicking on email and just confirming, are you still at gmail.com or whatever the email may be that you have in your management system. We are synchronizing with your management system, so we're showing it here. Or you can get a new email and save it. Now, just remember that if you save an email, it saves it just inside of Service Intelligence, and you'll need to save it again or enter it into your management system. So we actually recommend as best practices, update your management system. We get updated automatically with syncs. Service Intelligence has a companion product, which is on your server, which does synchronization. So for example, if I want to synchronize my customers, It does this every 30 minutes. It's synchronizing invoices. And so what I'm doing right now is I instructed Communicator to synchronize with the management system, and this would bring any change of address or new email address or phone number that you may have entered into the system. You have the ability to add records to service intelligence, and this is key, meaning that when you're on the phone with a customer, I would tell Shirley, bring in your folder with all your previous work, whatever work you haven't done here at our shop. If you've done it at our shop, don't worry about it. We have the records, obviously. But for example, if you went to Jiffy Lube or Midas or Goodyear, and they did any work on your vehicle, bring me those service records, because then we can add them to the service intelligence report. And this is a way of protecting you from buying something you don't need. So let me take a look, and now it's synchronizing phone numbers. But let's assume, for example, that we want to add, the customer brings in an invoice and they had their rear brakes done, right? So I want to go here to this icon, which is add a record. And I am going to click the letter B and go down to rear brakes. And now I can enter either an odometer or a date. So I'm going to say, let's say this work was done on May 8th. And notice that I don't need to enter the odometer. The service intelligence will do the math and add the record retroactively. So let's take a look. So now if we look at brakes rear, they're showing up in the blue now. And it's telling the customer you don't need this until May 8th based on the 27 miles you drive per day. So this is really key, because if you have a new customer that's coming into your shop for the first time, you want to do the best job we can in emphasizing how careful we are with automotive care. We provide full-blown fleet service management, and I would say to my customer, look, in this here we have 16,753 vehicles that we manage, and we know every part, lubricant, and fluid that has been touched on the vehicle. We manage it based on historical data and daily mileage. And these are universally accepted by our customers as factual. Nobody argues with history or daily mileage. And so this really goes at the heart of providing the vehicle owner with an exceptional service experience, which they can appreciate as being a cut above what they have experienced at competitor shops. Okay, so let me do that again. Let's say the customer also has an invoice, and or if it's a new customer, I want to take the time and go in again. In this case, I'm going to hit the letter W, and then go down to windshield wiper, and maybe it was done in a year. I don't want to go back too far, because otherwise it's going to be do it again. So this time it was done in March, and I go ahead and add the record. And it refreshes here, and you'll see now that windshield wiper is not due, and there's 7 months left on that windshield wiper. Looking at the summary report, the windshield wiper will be down here, and it's not due until March 13th. So what we've covered now are the 3 types of reports that can be presented to the customer. The detailed report, of course, is a lengthy report that has everything we've ever done. Now, of course, the only thing that matters is the last event of a particular service, and that's the one that is being aged here. And if we go through and you look at tire rotations, transmission, fluid flush, all services are being tracked as the service history is aged. And so I could say to my customer, would you like to have all your warranty information? And this would be the report. It has, of course, everything we've ever done. And so I would, again, click on email, and I would say, well, here you go. you know, let me send it to you. I see you're holding your smartphone. And really what I want to do is send the customer an email while they're across the counter from me. And then I'm going to ask the customer, check your inbox and let's make sure that we didn't end up in junk mail. So this is a very effective way of providing the vehicle owner with um, information that is of value to them, and at the same time we confirm that our email reached their inbox. If a customer elects to opt out and they don't want to receive an email, you have an opt-out option here where you can click on this, search for the customer and opt them out, or you can do it inside of the management system, in which case now we synchronize automatically and we pick up the opt-out without having to update service intelligence. And I am making a point of the fact that because we're synchronizing with a management system, you might as well do all of your data entry other than services that were performed elsewhere. That's the only thing you want to do within the point of sale system. Otherwise, just update your management system and then service intelligence updates automatically. Now, low mileage vehicles are tricky because we've got two criteria for most things, meaning you can be tracking miles and time. So whatever triggers the service first, that's what's going to show up. So let's keep on clicking on other vehicles. Let's look at Kevin here, Kevin Chen. And so in his case, he has a lot of services that are not needed. The main point, I think, here is to distinguish ourselves from our competitors by the degree of accuracy and the care that we are placing on each vehicle that we service to deliver for the vehicle owner their main objectives. First objective is they want to keep their family safe. And so for that reason, we have the ability to track the rear brakes versus the brake fluid and versus the brake or the front brakes. So because things get done at different times during the life of the vehicle, this is a very powerful way of providing the vehicle owner with the best and most careful care for maintaining the vehicle as safe as possible. What we also are doing is when Kevin comes in and I greet him and I tell him, look, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 items you don't need. So the system is also providing them with a date on when these things will be needed. So in 2017, there's 4 services that are going to become due. So the customer doesn't get surprised when we say, look, you know, you're going to need the transmission fluid at the end of the year. This is a way of establishing that when you have no car payments left, it doesn't mean the car is free, right? I mean, the car has wear and tear, and maintenance is actually cheap as compared to repairs. So our strategy here at Express Automotive is exactly that, that what we're going to be doing is squeezing every last mile out of that transmission fluid before we service it again. Now, in addition, the vehicle owners have the following objectives, right? Not only do they want to keep their family safe, they have pride of ownership. They want to make sure that their vehicle is in the best operating condition possible, and they need the vehicles to be reliable so that they can get to work and deliver their family, you know, to the softball game or whatever needs to be done, and also to delay the need to buy a new vehicle as long as possible. And this vehicle is an example of deep mileage ownership, which is desirable to our customers. Great value to our customers. And this is something we need to explain to them, that the vehicles of today are built very differently than they were in the 80s and 90s, you know, where these vehicles are good for deep ownership, and if you delay going to the dealership an extra 2 or 3 years, according to the AAA, the money we save in depreciation is significant. As a matter of fact, depreciation cost is 2.5 times more expensive than all the insurance payments made during the life of the vehicle. So these are strategies that we want to share with our customers and explain that managed auto care is the only way to go. This is the way FedEx trucks are maintained, or Yellow Cab. They buy the NYPD cars at 70,000 miles. Is by law they have to sell them, and they paint them yellow, put them back on the road all the way to 500,000 miles. And how do they maintain them? Like this. They age part lubricant and fluid based on daily usage. The filter is only good for 12,000 miles or 12 months. When that time comes, just replace it. Same thing goes with everything from batteries to spark plugs to tires. And so when you are implementing a strategy, and in our case, I would tell my customer, we've got almost 17,000 vehicles under our care. Our mission statement is to lower the cost of vehicle ownership while maintaining safety for the family and the highest resale value possible. All this at the minimum cost by providing a custom maintenance program which is unique to every vehicle, right? And as I'm showing you here, there won't be 2 reports within Service Intelligence that have the same information. It's just impossible, because every vehicle is driven differently and services are performed throughout the life of the vehicle at different times. So to recap, what I've basically explained is that Service Intelligence can provide insights into deep histories sub-second. And this is of great importance when we're asking our customers to make a purchasing decision. And so in order to help them, we provide them with the best information we can. So going back to what I was saying earlier, that if I bring my vehicle to a shop and I'm greeted with what I shouldn't buy, now looking at the things that are in the red, especially if I go and I tell the customer, look, I'm going to give this report to my technician, and he's going to do a physical inspection, which is absolutely vital. And we do that because you may have had a road hazard, maybe there's a punctured brake fluid line or something. And so that is the purpose of the physical inspection. But we do that with the information that you have in your hand, because this gets printed out in color at the front counter, and I hand it to the customer while they're waiting at the waiting room. Or if the customer leaves, I can call them and they have this information in their hand. And so now the exchange is much more professional in the sense that we have exposed our proprietary records to the vehicle owner for their benefit, so that they can see what things we've done in the past and that we consider that they don't need to do yet unless something happened, and that's a different story. So this is a way also of raising the bar in our market, creating a competitive advantage as compared to, let's say, Shirley goes down the street to Johnny's Automotive and says to Johnny, how many miles do I drive per day? Well, Johnny's not going to know. How many miles is it, before I need my brake fluid service? And of course, Johnny can go ahead and look at the history and start going through the invoices, finding when the last time the service was performed, and then doing the math. And then, of course, if she asks a second or third question, Johnny's going to say, I don't have time for this. Right? And so that is where we establish in real palpable way, where it's very clear to the customer that we are going a step further and that this is desirable for them. We even took the step of asking them to bring in the invoices for any work that they've done on the vehicle that we may not know about, so that now we have a complete vehicle uh, uh, history that is aged based on how much the vehicle is driven daily. So what we also do internally, of course, is that we save a lot of time in that if I am giving my technician 5 vehicles a day to inspect, and I give him a report where I'm telling him, hey, you don't need to spend too much time on any of this, that creates efficiencies internally. And most importantly, I'm also protecting the the brand, where we're not going to make the mistake of selling something that we shouldn't, because everybody in the team, and I'm saying the team inclusive of the vehicle owner knows the history and it's being aged accurately for them. I know it as a service writer, and I also give it to my technician, and all three of us as a team, we are now focused on preventive maintenance as a strategy to extend the useful life of the vehicle and to provide the vehicle owner with the most frugal maintenance program money can buy. Going to change a filter here just to, let's look for families that have 3 vehicles. I'm looking for deep ownership. Usually these would be unchecked and you would have all your customers, but I'm looking for now families that have 3 vehicles, and it found 382 families. You can see it right here in the bar. Now I wanted to show you how if you do a right click on top of the customer's name as opposed to the vehicle, I can email. So for example, if I'm speaking to Suzanne, I can just click email and I can go ahead and click mail, and she will receive the reports for each of her vehicles. If the customer is in front of me, I can click, also right click and click print summaries, and now it will print the 3 reports for each of their vehicles, because let's assume she came in with a Mitsubishi that has a certain history, but I can look at the Volkswagen, right? And I can say, looks like, your husband needs an oil change. Oh, do you still have this vehicle? This vehicle hasn't been in a long time. Look at this, 43,000 miles. So let's go to the Hyundai. And, well, this one was in 18 months ago. So if a vehicle needs a service, I can tell Susan, look, why don't you have your daughter bring in her Hyundai? Well, we have an opening on Tuesday, and would that work for you? So this helps us manage vehicles that are not in front of us. So again, what I did here was I did a right click on top of the customer name, and then I can print all summaries, or I can email all the summaries. So this is a quick way of sending this information to our customers or to the printer. Another thing I want to point out is that within a family, it's important to know how much each vehicle is driven. So if I'm looking at the Sienna, I want to look at the Avalon, and I say, oh, look, the Avalon is driven a third of what you're driving the Sienna. And the Hilux, that's hardly driven at all, right? So this is, but we also have information that tells us here, you haven't been bringing this vehicle in, do you still have it? So this is also a way to start looking at our database. It looks like this family only has this one vehicle that is active. The Avalon has not been in for 44 months either. So these are ways where you can actually go into the opt-in. I can go to Barry. And I can go in here, and now I can go to the Avalon, and I can say, exclude it. I don't want to see it anymore, and I don't want to see this vehicle either. So I can exclude both of these. And the next time that I open Service Intelligence, these vehicles will not show. So this is a way of suppressing vehicles within our management system. Another way, which I think is the preferred way, you go into your management system and you remove those vehicles, or depending on the management system, sometimes you can disable the vehicle but keep the history, or you can transfer them to a sold vehicle account. So to recap, what I've shown you is how to do a right click on the customer to see the print or email all the reports, or you can do a right click on the vehicle and select the report that you want to either print or email. We also have texting, which is really important. This is a preferred way of communication. It's a two-way system where you can um, send a customer, for example, your car is ready, and and you've got the phone numbers here for the customer in question. Um, and actually, you've got several. Thank you for visiting. Please leave us a review, and you can just click send. It's also good for asking the customer to approve an estimate. You can say the estimate is ready, and you can just basically say 894. And then click send. So what else do I want to show you? The scheduler is a really handy thing. This allows you to schedule the next appointment. So for example, if we go to this vehicle is driven 23 miles a day, based on that mileage, the next oil change will be due November 29th. So instead of going into your management system and entering an appointment, what I would do is I would say, look, Dini, the system's already scheduled you for the next oil change. What we're doing, with your permission, is we'd like to pull you in before something goes wrong with the vehicle. Sometimes we have customers, we only see them behind a tow truck, and that's really the worst way to own your vehicle. The system is proactive, so it's going to send you just a reminder, and it'll do it 7 days before the appointment. And you actually have a little button in the email where you can change the appointment, and it's really easy. So I'm going to confirm here by clicking schedule. Here it is, November 29th. I'm going to change this to tomorrow so I can show you what that looks like. And here I can say LOF plus tires or whatever it is. If I have a loop sticker printer, I can use that here and I can print the loop sticker. But since I don't have a printer, I'm not going to do that. Then I'm going to click process. So what this did is now it created an appointment reminder, which will be sent with the information saying, here you go, here's Deanie. She doesn't have an email. That's why it's grayed out. Or she's opted out. Let me see. No email address in the management system. And so the customer can confirm directly from their cell phone, and they can also get driving directions to our shop. So far I have covered all of these 4 icons. The automation is an advanced feature that has to do with showing you the vehicles that are at the shop at the moment. So I'm going to remove all filters here just to show you how this works. And so the system now is going to show me under work in progress the shops that we currently have at the shop. This is a way to assist you during your busy day so that you can see the customers that are at the shop. You can always override the odometer. So if our guess is wrong because maybe they took a trip or something like that, you can override it just by typing it in, and it refreshes the report with the conclusions. You already know what add a record does. You can add either a historical record or you can add a recommendation. And just to remind you, so for example, front brakes, if they had it done, you can add when it was done, and the report will be updated. Opt-in, opt-out, I showed you how you can remove records from your system, although we believe that you should do that all in your management system. And the dashboard has to do with your reports, and this is something that tracks everything that Service Intelligence is doing is on your dashboard, and it's web-based. And I'm going to go ahead and click it real quick. And quickly log in. So as your customers ask for appointments, you will see them here and you can read them. And we have a two-step where if a customer wants an appointment, we actually force the customer to send the shop an email so that you can determine which technician is going to work on it and what day are they available. We never put an appointment into the management system unless you're actually pushing it in the way I showed you here. So let's say if Chris sent you a request for an appointment and you can accommodate them, you go into the schedule the appointment, select the date, and it pushes it into your management system. Search is really important because we provide data mining and we're interpreting your service history, and it is possible that a keyword is missed. So for example, if this vehicle has been in 33 times since 2005, right, and we say, I'm looking at it in my management system, we did the front brakes, what you can do is go to that particular vehicle. Actually, let me open one that has a detailed report. So for example, let's say this vehicle has been in 33 times, right? And we're looking at, we did a power steering flush. So what I'm going to do is highlight the keyword, let's say steering. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go into search. Excuse me, I don't want to search in this report. I want to go to my detailed report. And now I'm going to search for steering. And here it gives me a next. So notice that it found steering on the label. So I'm going to go to next. And it found, these are notes. So this work was not done. Notes. So we ignored this properly. So notes, this customer was recommended power steering flush. And then here again, power steering. This is an inspection. Fluids are full, power steering and brake fluid are discolored, and we can service them when you come in for your brake job. Okay, but apparently it was not done. So what I am doing is I'm showing you how you can validate the information that you see in Service Intelligence, and this is actually a key component of building trust in the conclusions, because let's assume that we actually missed it. You called your power steering XR72. It doesn't matter. What you want to do is report that this is a mistake, right? That needs to be corrected. And so what you do is you click email and you type in support@eautoclub.com. This is our support inbox, which automatically creates a ticket. You don't have to make a phone call and sit on hold and wait for someone and explain what's going on. And here, you update the subject line. So, if I could spell steering. So, with this, what we do is we get the email with the subject line telling us what the problem is. And also we get from you, we know what shop it is because we've got your information. We also have the year, make, and model and license plate of the vehicle. So we have remote access to the database. We add a keyword, XR72-7, which whatever it is that you called your power steering. And now that word will be associated with power steering, and it will track it for every instance in the database. So it's a very effective way of weeding out issues as you find them in the normal course of business. Just remember, you click email, and let me go to a vehicle that has an email. Let's see. Let me close some of these. So let's go to, so this customer, I'm going to click email. We replace these emails just to on our demo machine so that we don't inadvertently send something to a customer that we shouldn't. But here you would type in support at iautoclub.com. And this is temporary. Do not check the email address, the checkbox that says save email address. And that is a very quick process that we perform with your support request. And then we do the outbound call, calling you and telling you that we have corrected the issue. Typically, in the first month, you should find 10, 15 things wrong, and depending on how many service writers you are or how big your database is, and also, very importantly, if you ever had a data conversion done by a company where you changed management systems or you rebuilt your packages, there are possibilities of finding issues, but by and large, the reports are very accurate, and we do a quality control in the first week that we install Service Intelligence to avoid the common things that we know that we need to look for. And then if you find things, you will see that maybe in the first month you find 10 or 15, second month 5, third month 2 or 3. And then you dial it in. After a while, you won't find any, and that's really just because what we're doing, it's called machine learning. The humans teach the machine the keywords that are associated with services, and we have a couple of other things that we do, which is we check for quantity, right? We check for charge, and we check for labor to make sure that it's actually a real service. And this is a very malleable and customizable system that lets you call the services whatever you want, including the service intervals. These are determined by the shop. So you can have, for example, 6,000 miles and 6 months as opposed to 8 and 8. So with that, I would like to summarize by saying that the growth of the business doesn't really come from emails or websites or postcards and those kind of things. Businesses are built at the front counter, face-to-face with a customer, when we exceed their expectations. And so managed auto care is serving and addressing the technology, and that we are in the information age, and our customers are expecting more from our management systems. And this is a way of addressing the customer's need to identify the best shop they possibly can, and also seeing that what we're doing is really an honorable way to do business, and we are trying very hard to provide the vehicle owner with safety and deep ownership as a strategy to control cost of vehicle ownership. Well, thank you for taking the time and learning about Service Intelligence. We provide unlimited support. If you have any questions, you can always click support and create a ticket. We are happy to provide you with any answers to any question you may have. Thank you.